Today's talk is going to be the 12-week year in Atomic Habits. Which works better when you're sick? I started a 12-week year 4 weeks ago, and then I've spent 9 days sick, like not functioning, kind of ill. And I ran very rapidly into, but I'm supposed to be executing on all these tactics, which is not great. And I found myself going, okay, but what can I do? So one of the things that I can still do when my throat hurts and I sound like this, I shouldn't be recording YouTube videos, but you're getting it anyway. I couldn't record the YouTube videos that were like my primary tactic because I sound like this and I look like this and I don't want to look like I'm dead on YouTube, but I'll suck it up this time. So then the other book that I go back to over and over again, so I have 12-week year and I have Atomic Habits and I go back and forth between them. And I also have this like really fabulous, I highly recommend this Full Focus Planner by Michael Hyatt that has the same general idea as the 12-week year, but slightly differently executed. And I really love the physical form of this one. But this time I decided I was going to do a 12-week year and I was going to take it seriously. I got the 12-week year field guide, which has all the fill in the blank stuff. And after I'd done a couple of weeks, and I was really like trying to figure out, what does it mean to execute on a tactic? What does it mean to get 80%? If I said I was going to do 5 outreaches and I did 4, do I give myself 80% for that? Or is there a qualitative component to it? And so like the very first thing I wrote down, you do these weekly reviews and assessments. And I wrote down, I'm not actually sure what worked and what didn't. And I wrote down goal setting per se. I think I need a rubric rather than a score sheet. And that brought me back to thinking about Atomic Habits and that 1% better every day. And there's a qualitative component to getting better at things and getting better at executing them. And 12-week year, as well as the Full Focus Planner, these ones that say, here, you're going to sit down, you're going to do this, set your goals, and then you're going to break things down. It sounds so logical. Like it makes perfect sense to say, where do I need to go? How am I going to get there? But this is the difference between Agile and Waterfall. If you're trying to go somewhere you've never been before, you're kind of guessing what the steps are to get there. Now, the advantage of 12-week year and Full Focus Planner is that you're not executing for an entire year. You're not trying to figure out, what do I want to do in 2024? What do I want to do in 2025 now? Oh no. You're going, okay, I got 3 months and I'm going to focus for these 3 months, and what's my goal? So these give you that waterfall approach. There's sort of the option to adapt as you go, but it definitely says in 12-week year that if you're adapting as you go, you're not really executing your plan and you should stick it out for the whole 12 weeks. And then if I go back to Atomic Habits, it says like you're going to start small and then you're going to build on them and you're going to build on them. And it feels to me like Atomic Habits might be more appropriate for things you've never done before. That you're going, I want to be over there, but I think it's in that direction. And I'm going to take 3 steps in that direction. You take 3 steps in that direction and you kind of sight along and you go, oh, actually where I'm going now is over that way. So there's this ability to adapt and shift and change focus. Which, interestingly, one of the things that I also wrote down about this was that is like how you do gradient descent. And there's this component of moving through life and moving through the world where if we've never done something before, we're kind of thinking that we can see how other people got there, but they didn't start in the same place as us. So the process of getting from one place to another isn't ever going to be exactly the same. That's why the breaking down your goals into steps tends to be this really generic approach. And so something more like an agile approach where you're going, I'm going to do for 2 weeks because I think This is my hypothesis. This is my test that I'm doing. This is the direction I think that's going to take me in. It gives you some feedback and information that you incorporate into your plan for the following 2 weeks. Sorry. So the one thing that the 12-week year is really good for is sticking to something that's going to take a period of time. I'm not going to make huge leaps forward in YouTube without consistently figuring out how to make my videos better, how to get them more on point, how to do better intros, better thumbnails, whatever those things are. So executing on something where it's going to take 12 weeks or 14 or 52 weeks before I'm going to start really seeing a difference. The 12-week year sort of says, stay on focus. Don't try and don't pivot every 2 weeks. If you pivot every 2 weeks, you're not going to get where you're going ever. So somewhere between those, where there's like jump forward with both feet into a plan that you kind of made up and you think is going to work, versus keep getting better each day at executing. You can even say, you know what, I'm not going to be able to do the scorecards to the degree that I'm supposed to at the beginning of this. So here's my plan for week 1, and here's how I'm going to improve that over the 12 weeks. So I think layering, what did I call this? I called this like a lifestyle design tech stack. Layering atomic habits on top of one of your 12-week years or your full focus, something that does 12 weeks of planning, going, let's be realistic about how quickly we can ramp up to that goal. Execution tactics thing will give you more opportunity to get where you're going, and layering the 12-week year on top of the atomic habits that says you have to keep doing something long enough to actually see an impact. So don't do it for a couple of weeks and go, that didn't work. So putting those two things together in concert and saying these play off against one another in the following way, I think gives us a really strong way to jump into this. So I think 12-week year, once you are good at something already and you know how to get from where you are to where you want to be, then you can execute on the tactics. If you're in an execution stage, then 12-week year is going to do your job for you. So will the full focus planner. I'm not married to one or the other. I think both of them are really, really useful. But if you don't know where you're going yet, you're not in execution mode. You're still in investigation and discovery. And so when you're in investigation and discovery mode, you need a different set of mental habits around execution and thinking about the problem and knowing when to pivot. So treating things as experiments rather than I'm going to execute on this for 12 weeks, even if it is really obvious that's not working after 4, I think gives us an opportunity to blend two of the best approaches. I'm really sorry about my throat, but that's what I sound like today.